Hello and welcome to the Little Likac podcast, episode 66. My name's Amanda and I'm coming to you from Derby in the United Kingdom, and this is a podcast all about knitting and crochet and sometimes a little bit about life, etc. Today's podcast though is also going to include my Make 9 for 2024. Yes, I have done one. Jumped on the bandwagon, didn't do one last year. Did do a Make 9 for 2022, which I think I made about 6 things. So I have got one for 2024. Now I'm going to do the usual sort of podcasty stuff first and then move on to the Make 9. So if you're only here because you saw Make 9 in the title or description box, then you might want to fast forward through the usual knitting, through the usual podcast content to get to the Make 9. Also, a bit of an update as well on the Socksy and You Know It Cowl. And I paused as I said that because I've just thought I've gathered up all of my knitting project bags, but I haven't got my Socksy bag. Have I? I think that might be in the car or in the other room. Anyway, I might have to pause, nip out and get that in a minute. So I have got some finished objects, I've got new cast ons, I've got what I've been working on, and then yes, I will be focusing on talking about my Make 9 for the year. Right, let's start by saying a big welcome, especially if you are a new or newish viewer. The viewing figures have been increasing over the last couple of podcasts, which is amazing, so thank you very much. And also the subscriber numbers have been keeping going up as well, so that's just awesome. So if you're new to the channel, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoy the podcast, and if you do, obviously give us a thumbs up please. That makes such a difference to the algorithm and just keeps the momentum going. Okay, so yes, let's talk about finished objects. So the first finished objects that I've got to show you are the socks that I was knitting for my husband. Ta-da! So these are just a vanilla sock, as in there is no specific pattern to them. They're just all in stocking stitch, and what I would call my vanilla pattern, you know, the kind of my, what's the word I want? Recipe? A formula that I always use for socks. I don't have to follow a pattern anymore. I've knitted that many pairs of socks over the years. I wonder if I've knitted 100 pairs of socks yet. It's got to be getting close to it. Anyway, so the yarn was chosen by my husband. If you have been a regular viewer, I cast these on in December, and I said that my husband chose the colourway. It was not a colourway that I would have picked out, and I was kind of like, okay, but actually I think they've knitted up great and he really likes them. And I finished them last Saturday, a week ago, and he's not been allowed to wear them, which he did look a little bit sad about. He was like, I said, well, no, I want to show him on the podcast first, and he was kind of like, oh, okay. So was I really only up to there? Maybe I was the last time you saw these 2 weeks ago. Did I really get all of that done in a week, or did I forget to move that? That's entirely possible. Anyway, that's the stitch marker. So let's talk about the yarn. So the reddy orangey green yarn is Opal in the colourway Howdy, as in, you know, howdy partner. So hence the reason why when I saw this particular progress keeper in a cowboy boot, I got that to go particularly for this pair of socks. I'm going to take that off now. I'm not saying that we'll never use that progress keeper again. Of course I will. In fact, I might add it onto something today, but I bought that specifically. So yes, so the main colour is Opal sock yarn, and please excuse my croaky voice and throat. I've had a slightly croaky voice the last few days. Nothing wrong with me. Haven't got a sore throat. Feel perfectly well. Just a little bit of a frog in my throat, as they say. The green yarn was some leftover. I don't know what I used that for originally. Anyway, but it's leftover Cygnet Truly Rich Wool, which is kind of effectively a sock yarn, 75% wool, 25% nylon. And like the Opal, it's a slightly thinner sock yarn, so it matches really well, and it's got the same slightly rustic feeling. You know, it's not, the Opal isn't the softest of sock yarns, although I think it does soften up with washing. there's nothing wrong with it, don't get me wrong, it's not rough, it's just not super soft. So yeah, anyway, so they are. What else can I tell you? 2x2 rib. I think I did about 20 rounds of rib. Quite a long leg. Heel flap and gusset. The classic slip one, knit one on the heel flap. And then just the wedge toe, I think it is. Kitchener stitched or grafted at the end. That's it. That's my go-to sock yarn, sock recipe. But these were knitted on 2.25mm needles, and I did cast on 72 stitches. And as I say, they are for my husband, who wears a size around about 10 and a half, something like that, UK size shoe. So he can have those now. Actually, I think he will be quite pleased to have them. They are nice actually, aren't they? I wouldn't wear them, you know, I wouldn't choose that colour for me, but I've actually enjoyed knitting them, and I do think they look quite cool, and he's happy with them. What more could you ask for? I'm also entering those into the make along, because I started those before the beginning of the year. They were started in 2023, and Mandy from Mouse's Makes podcast and Mouse Switch Yarns is doing a make along with a podcaster who I hadn't met before or come across before. She's called Belinda, and her podcast is called Belinda's Baubles. And the two of them together are running a make along called the Topping Out make along. And the idea is it's finishing off. I think topping out is something to do with construction, and it's when you put the last piece of the building in, something like that, I think. Please forgive me if I am, because I get the impression that Belinda might work in the construction industry or has worked in the construction industry. Anyway, if I'm completely wrong on all of that, apologies. So I have entered them anyway into their Topping Out mal, which is through the Ravelry page, is the Mouse's Makes Ravelry page. I'm not doing very well here today, am I? Right, anyway, enough about those socks. I'm bored of talking about those now. You're probably bored about listening to them. Right, so shall we move on? Another finished object is in this bag, and you didn't even see this in progress. This took me about 9 days to knit, and bearing in mind I was knitting on other things. So basically, this scarf is called, that's all it is, it's a scarf. This scarf is called The Simple Thing. I had seen quite a lot of people knitting the Sophie scarf, and when I've been quite cold in my classroom at work, I've quite liked having like a little shawl or shawlette around my neck, and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice maybe to have something again, a smallish scarf that I could, or shawl that I could tie around my neck at work. And I kept seeing the Sophie scarf, and I thought, oh, that would work. That looks quite straightforward. And then when I was looking, there was a free pattern for pretty much the same thing. And it had actually been published a year or so before the Sophie scarf. So the Sophie scarf, I think, is by the Petite Knitter. Now, the one that I've knitted is called The Simple Thing. And now I am going to have to look up the name of the designer because I cannot remember it off the top of my head. So it is called The Simple Thing, and it is by Mellina Brel. And there's like thousands of projects on Ravelry, and as I say, it is a free pattern. And I knitted it in DK weight yarn that I had bought at Yarndale just last year. And it was 75% merino, 25% linen, and it was from a company called The Happy Crow, who I have come across before. I actually got chatting to Pob, who is one of the dyers and creators, and their partner, and I can't remember what her name is. Anyway, I chatted to them at Buxton Wool Show a couple of years ago when I'd been exhibiting there. And I saw them at Yarndale. They're so lovely. And this was in, I have a feeling this was in their bargain bucket. It's such a pretty colour. So it's 75% merino, 25% linen. It is a little bit scratchy. The linen content was a little bit strawy, and I did find I was pulling some of it out, which isn't great when I want to wear this right up to close to my neck. I haven't blocked this, and I feel like I do need to wash it and block it, and I'm hoping that will take some of the scratchiness out of it, and obviously stretch it a little bit. So it is a really simple pattern. It is garter stitch with an I-cord edging, just like the Sophie scarf is, and it gives you instructions so that you can knit it as wide as you like, and then do the decrease section. And I'd read a few comments in the Ravelry thread of people saying they didn't quite have enough yarn to get to the end and stuff, so I maybe overestimated very slightly, and I've ended up with this little bit left, and it really isn't very much. I think it's like 2 or 3 grams, so I did pretty well. So this was 100 grams DK weight. I do absolutely love the colour. Don't think it had a colourway name. It was in their bargain bucket. I think it was just kind of like a maybe of a one of a kind, and it's, as I say, not actually very long. But I could still tie it like that if I wanted to, or just leave it, I guess, just hanging down like that. Yeah, that would work, wouldn't it? But I think I am, and actually now I've got it against my neck, it doesn't feel scratchy. So yeah, the idea was it's just something maybe that I could just have on in my classroom, particularly when it starts to get a bit chilly in there. And it was a very simple, hence I guess the reason why the pattern's called My Simple Thing. Very simple, quick knit, and I found it quite relaxing to do. And as I say, knitted in less than 10 days, fewer than 10 days. And would have been even quicker if I'd done it monogamously. Could have done it probably in a couple of evenings. Found it really therapeutic to work on, actually. Just love the colour. I keep looking at it and can just see very slight different shades of purples, kind of like a heathery purple. So yeah, that is a new cast on and a finished object all in one go. Pretty. So those are my 2 finished objects. That was in the bag that was given to me for Christmas by my lovely husband. And oh yeah, here's the ball band from Happy Crow. And so yeah, as I say, double knit, 70% merino, 30% linen actually. Yeah, that's all there is to say about that one. Okay, so those are my 2 finished objects. So what else have I been working on? So after I'd finished that pair of socks, I didn't want to start a new pair of socks until the 1st of the month for the Socksy make-along, which I will show you and talk about shortly. So I thought, oh, I'll just leave socks for a few days and work on a few other things. So I have been working on my Stephen West shawl, which is the Hiberknitalong for 2023. And the shawl is called the Glittering Snowscape shawl, and I have done quite a bit of work on this. I've got onto the 2nd colour. I so wish I was onto the 3rd because I can't wait to get the 3rd colour into this. But I am on the 2nd colour, and I haven't left it in the middle of a row like I had last time. So last time you saw this, I was just up to there, ready to start that sort of chevron lace pattern. And you can see I've now done these ridges. I've done this, I think they called this no, it wasn't waffle stitch. What did they call it? Pillar stitch or something like that, I think. And now I'm into the mesh part. So I'm knitting this on Chowgoo needles, 3.5mm. And it's looking so pretty. So the pillar stitches, you're using a mixture of colour 1 and colour 2, and then when you get to this point you're just in colour 2. So this is what I've used of colour 1. Colour 1 does come back and gets used again a couple of other times, so we haven't finished with that. This is colour 2, which is one of the sparkly ones. These were all dyed by me. I am going to dye some of these again, actually. So look out for those. They are going to come up. I am going to be dyeing. Hopefully I'm going to do some dyeing tomorrow. And then next week I'm going to be off work for a week for half term, and I'm going to get some serious dyeing then. That will be my colour 3, which I cannot wait. I'm definitely going to be re-dyeing this one. I really like this. So definitely going to be re-dyeing this. I haven't got a name for it yet. This is not on a sparkle base, but I might dye it on both plain and sparkle. So looking forward to getting that into the shawl. However, I don't think I'm going to be working on this again now for a little while, because I have got some specific plans on things that I want to get finished in February. So if I get those things finished in February and I've got a bit of time, then that's what I'll go back to. But certainly that's not going to have any work on it in the next 2 weeks before the next podcast. Let me just put, though, the progress keeper in. But I think, yeah, that's going to be hibernating for at least a few weeks, maybe a month or 2. Just because I've got some other things that I absolutely want to get finished in February. So we will pop that back in. Have done quite a lot of work on it. Just looking pretty. I am enjoying it, but it needs to go away for a little while. So in a similar vein, another item that I've been working on, which probably now won't get worked on for a little while. This was, and you might have seen actually that this project bag had a tag on it with a number. And so is this one, because these ones were part of the 12 Cast Ons, a make-along that I'm taking part in, run by run by Ange, or Angie from Yarn and Yarns. So that Glittering Snowscape shawl I cast on the Boxing Day, and it was my 3rd cast on of the 12 cast ons. And this one was actually number 2. I cast this on Christmas Day, and it is my Litmus cowl. And I'm using an advent calendar that was dyed for me by Nancy, known as Lane Cable, on Ravelry, and she is my moderator, helps me out on the Ravelry board. And yes, she dyed for me this lovely lovely advent calendar, all colours inspired by Winnie the Pooh, and I organised them into a fade set and all sorts of like a fade, and it is, look how beautiful this is knitting up. Nancy, it's gorgeous, so pleased with it. So these are all 10 gram minis, and I've actually weighed, each stripe's only taken 5 grams, so I have got 5 grams left of each of the minis. And I've got a couple of ideas in my mind about what I'm going to do with the leftovers, but we shall see. I think I've got 12 colours in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I'm nearly halfway. And so last time you saw this, in fact, I was just at that point. So I've done all of this since you last saw it a few weeks ago, I think. So let's change or move the progress keeper. Now, as I say, again, this may not get much work done on it over the next couple of weeks. And these are the colours that I've still got left to put in. I am really, really enjoying it. It's going really fast, I think, because I've got a different colour every time as well. I'm just enjoying the process. The colour that I'm using it with, this was a yarn from a subscription box that I had a few years ago, and it is a very slightly sparkly sock yarn, and so it's not overly sparkly, but we've just got a little bit of sparkle in there. So look at it, it's just gorgeous. So honestly, Nancy, thank you again so much. Thank you so much, because these colours are just knitting up really, really nicely. And I was getting a bit nervous, and I've weighed this and I've got 57 grams of it left. Phew, so we should be fine. It should, in theory, I should end up with like 5 grams of that left at the end of the project as well. So we're all good. We're all good, because I was getting a bit nervous. I am doing, for each stripe, I'm doing 10 rounds of the colour, 10 rounds of the cream, and that seems to be working out absolutely perfectly. And it is in this lovely Winnie the Pooh bag that Nancy also made for me and gave to me as part of the advent set. So I love this. It's just knitting up so nicely. And it's great TV knitting, sort of like when it's later in the evening, or if I've had a drink, or a glass of wine or something, because you're just going round and round and round. It's good fun. Okay, so what else have I been working on? I'm going to save that one because that's actually one of my make 9s. So I think now I'm going to have to pause and go and find my new cast on that got cast on a Thursday. So just bear with me. Okay, so apologies if things have moved slightly because obviously I have to move the camera out of the way to get up and go and get this. So this is in this bag. I can take this tag off now actually because that was from the previous cast on that is now finished. So yes, this cast on, new cast on, I'll take that tag off in a bit, is month 2, the February socks for the Socksy and You Know It cowl. And part of this cowl for myself was I wrapped up 12 balls of yarn, or sock yarn, and then wrapped them up so I couldn't remember what I'd wrapped, and numbered them randomly. And so on Thursday, it was the 1st of February, that's a mouthful, isn't it? Bit of a tongue twister. Thursday the 1st of February, it was time to open the new Skeindeer yarn. So it's also knit group night on Thursday night, because I'd ummed and ahed, should I wait until today and open it on the podcast? And then I thought, oh, you know what, I'll take it to knit group and I'll open the package there. And the lovely Jo, who was sat opposite me, filmed me opening the package. So I will just show you that little bit of footage of me in Starbucks on Thursday evening, opening the mystery parcel for the February socks. So have a look. Oh, it's a Christmas colourway. Look at that one. Lovely, thank you, Jo. So yeah, I was really excited actually because I've had this colourway a couple of years. It's West Yorkshire Spinners Vintage Tinsel, and here it is. Oh, what's going on? Oh yeah, here it is. So sparkly. It was so funny because Jo absolutely loved it. She wanted to steal it, and I just kept picking it up going, oh. And the mini that was with it is also West Yorkshire Spinners. This colourway is Amethyst, and honestly I don't think I've ever knitted the rib of a sock, the cuff of a sock, so quickly, because I so wanted to get into the sparkly stripes. So it is a Christmas colourway, but I don't think these are necessarily just Christmassy socks. I would definitely wear these any time of the year. And I've already knitted this much. I've pretty much done the leg. I am ready to start the heel. So the heel flap will be the next thing that I knit on these, which I'll probably do this evening. And I have a feeling these are going to knit up so quickly. Oh, look at the sparkle. They really are very sparkly, and I just love the stripes on these. These are great fun. So I'm knitting these on 2.5mm needles. So these are the Knit Pro Zings, 2.5mm, so that they're a little bit quicker to knit, and only 60 stitches. So because again, I am just doing a vanilla sock, no pattern, just stocking stitch, just letting the yarn do all the work. So 60 stitches, 2.5mm just means they knit up just that little bit quicker. And yeah, so I'm very, very excited. So there you go. It is the West Yorkshire Spinner Signature Sparkle 4-ply. The colourway is 1051, as I say, Vintage Tinsel. I can't remember where I bought this from, but it was only £7.50, and I actually really can't remember. It might have been in Bath, in which case that would have been about 3 years ago. About that, I think. 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But I couldn't say for certain that's where I bought it from. I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, I have a feeling these are going to be done very quickly because, and the amethyst just goes so beautifully with it. So I am really enjoying knitting those up. We are ready to put in the heel flap, and yeah, just get cracking on with them. So they are for the socks in You Know It Cowl. Thank you, those of you that are joining in with that. Remember, if you started a pair of socks in January and you haven't finished them yet, that is fine. You've got till the end of February to enter them. I am just going to do a little reminder though that if they are going into the January thread, they do need to have been started in January, not in December. Somebody on the Ravelry threads has pointed out to me, unfortunately, that there are a couple of people who have entered socks that it even says on their Ravelry page that they started those in December. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do about that. I don't feel really comfortable sort of like saying, you know, deleting things out of the thread particularly, although if I find people are doing it regularly, then that's what I might have to do. But what I am going to do is when I pull a winner from there, which won't be till the end of February, before I announce that winner, I will check, and if that project, if it clearly was started before January, then I will choose a different winner. That's all I can say on that. With knit-alongs and things, to a certain degree, you are trusting people. I'm sure these are just honest mistakes, people perhaps just not realising or kind of registering the fact that they'd started those socks before January. I'm sure nobody is actually actively going out of their way to cheat on threads. And whilst I have said that I'm, you know, quite loose over what we're doing, like I'm saying, you know, if you start it in January and finish it at the end of February, that's fine, you know. I do feel that this is a 2024 knit along. If you started it before 2024, I didn't say to include whips. I did say you need to start them in January. So that's just saying that. Okay, so if you have put something in and it is clear that it was started before the start of January, it won't be eligible to win a prize. Now, when it comes down to prizes, I will be drawing a prize, as I say, at the end of February, so probably in the next podcast, but I will probably do that. I will pre-record it, I suppose, because I will have to double check that the winner is eligible. Anyway, but I will announce that, not in the next podcast. It will be the podcast at the very beginning of March. I had to think about that then, didn't I? Right. There will also be times when I perhaps just randomly pull a winner of a prize as well out of the chatter thread. Right, now I really do want to get onto my make 9. So, okay, make 9s. I do love the concept and the idea of a make 9, and I do quite often sit there thinking about all the things I want to make. I did not do a make 9 last year because actually I wanted to focus on finishing things off. So I didn't want to get excited about starting new projects when I knew I'd got so many projects to finish. This year, however, I've got jumpers in my head, so many jumpers. So, or sweaters, if you are not UK, because I know not many other countries call them jumpers. We call sweaters, pullovers, jumpers here in the UK. I try and use the term sweater when I'm talking about it on the podcast because I know that I do have some international viewers. Thank you very much. Anyway, so if I say jumper instead of sweater, that's what I mean. So I've got a lot of sweaters I want to knit this year. And I've also got a couple of dresses, knitted dresses that I'd love to make. So I have made a make 9 that is pretty much all sweaters and a couple of dresses. Yeah, let's challenge myself. Am I going to make all 9? Nah, probably not. But if I get 6 of them done, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? So one of them has already been cast on, although it was cast on in January, so it does still count as a 2024 make. And it is a sweater that I bought the yarn and the pattern for at the same time, the right yarn that's actually mentioned in the pattern, and you have seen this a couple of times before, and it is one of my 12 one of my 12 cast ons, and in fact I cast this on because it will have a tag on it somewhere. I cast this on, it was the 12th one, so it would have been about something like the 5th or 6th of January, and it is this sweater. So this is the first one of my Make 9, and I have started on it, and on the first day I just got the rib done, and then literally today I have been working on this, and it didn't take me very long to get the first repeat of the pattern done. So this is my first one. It is using Recreate Chunky. I have 10 balls of this, and it's 140 meters per 100 grams, I believe. Yes, 140 meters per 100 grams. I have 10 balls of this, which should be enough according to the pattern to make this. It's chunky weight yarn, so I think it should be quite quick. And if I'm going to try and make 9 garments, sweaters and dresses in 12 months, I need to get cracking with this. Hence the reason why the Snowscape shawl is going to get put to one side, the Litmus cowl to a certain degree is going to get put to one side, and the focus for the next few weeks, the vintage tinsel socks, the February socks, and this. So if I need something that's just easy round and round and round knitting, socks, when I've got my brain in gear, this. I want to have this finished by the end of February. And I figured, well, actually then, if that's about 4 weeks that I've got to knit it, and I know it's 10 balls of yarn, as long as I've used 2.5 balls a week, I'm going to be okay. This is the first ball, and as I say, it already got the rib done, so I've done that amount, that first repeat of the pattern, and it really didn't take very long. I was working on that for maybe about 1.5 hours, perhaps 2 hours. So that is what I'm going to really try and crack on with. And I have got a third, oh yeah, I have got a third thing that I've been working on. But anyway, let's focus on the Make 9. Well, maybe I'll record that other thing and just kind of bung it in somewhere. So yeah, so that is the first pattern from the Make 9. Can Amanda make 9 sweaters in a year? Or 7 sweaters and 2 dresses? Right, so that's the first one. Now where's my little notebook gone? And that is already started, and obviously we have the yarn for it. Now that's the other thing, I think all of these things that I've chosen this year for my Make 9, I already have the yarn. I don't have the yarn in the house in front of me in this room to show you everything, unfortunately. But hopefully I should be able to tell you what most of the yarn is and the sort of colour. Right, okay, so the second thing that I want to make, the second sweater that I want to make, is the Festive Yoke jumper by Skeindeer Knits. Now this has been in my head for over a year. I had planned to knit this last year. I have got the yarn for it. I dyed the yarn myself. And you will be shocked to know the colours that I'm going for. The main colour is a dark purple, very similar to that. And the contrast colour is a bright pink. And it's a sport weight jumper, so I did actually buy some sport weight. Well, to be fair, I bought the sport weight yarn and dyed it for a different sweater. I think the Alpenglow, something like that, I had in my head that I was going to do. And then anyway, changed my mind. I'm going to use it for the Skeindeer knits one. Now I didn't have the pattern for this, and then I don't often watch the Skeindeer knits podcast, but I do occasionally. And I was watching her podcast last week, and it was one that she'd recorded a couple of weeks ago, and she's moving house. She lives in London, she's moving house, and she was talking about how expensive it was basically moving house. And she was saying how really, she was just honest and sort of said, I think she said she'd got a Ko-fi account, you know, basically. And so I thought, right, okay, I've actually got a pattern of hers in my list. Really want to make this. And so I bought the pattern because I thought I was getting the pattern, which I wanted, giving her a little bit of income. And yeah, actually it felt quite good that I was getting to buy it and feeling good about buying it. So yeah, so I now have the pattern as well. So I will be casting that on. It may not be the second. These aren't necessarily in the order that I'm going to do them, but I think I'd like to have that cast on by Easter so that I can work on it through the year and have it ready for Christmas. I don't know. The thing is with that yoke, with that jumper as well, is it gives you lots of different charts, and you can do as many of them going down the yoke, down the body or not. And at the moment my brain, I've certainly got enough yarn to do the charts going all the way down the body, and that is what I would like to do, so we shall see. Okay, now the third jumper sweater on my list is another colourwork one, and that is Run. And that's by designer company Unwind Knitwear. I can't remember what the lady's name is who runs it. And oh gosh, her patterns are beautiful. And again, I've got quite a few of her patterns in my favourites. But that pattern I did actually buy, it must have been when it was released, I think, because there was a discount code. So I've got that pattern already, had that pattern a little while. So really keen to knit it. And my plan, I'll need to double check, but my plan is to use for the contrast yarn, I've got a Zauber Ball long colour change yarn. And my plan is to use that for the contrast, which goes, it's got like creams and pinks and maybe lavender. And then the main colour is going to be, are you ready for this? Are you ready? Dark purple, because I have got a cone of I've got a cone of King Cowl merino blend 4-ply in a dark purple. So that's the plan for that one. So far that's 3 sweaters all in dark purple. Right, let's talk about the next one because that won't be purple. The next one is the Whitmoor sweater. Now this was on my Make 9 list 2 years ago and didn't get made. It was on my list or my list in my brain last year and still didn't get made. I really want to make this sweater and I've got 2 yarn choices for it, but I'm going to go not with purple. Yeah, you heard that right. Not purple. Instead, I have got this blue, bright blue turquoise, sparkly acrylic that I bought from Aldi or Lidl years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And I've got a sweater's worth of it. I've got loads of it. So I can make the Whitmoor jumper, make it quite oversized, do the big balloony, what do they call it? Bishop sleeves, because I know I've got loads of that wool. And that will use that wool. It is a bright, in your face, sparkly yarn, and yeah, I just want to do it. So that is on my list, the Whitmoor in sparkly cheap acrylic. Why not? Okay, so then the next one is a drops design. There is no name for this pattern, it's just a number. And the reason why I'm going to make this one is because I do have some drops, or Garn Studio as it used to be called, silver yarn, which I've actually got in this room. Hang on a minute, let me go and get this one. I can show you the yarn. Right, so I've had this for years in my stash. I think I probably got it from eBay. So this was Garn Studio, they are now Drops, same company. And it is cotton viscose, so it is 54% bommel and 46% viscose, so I'm assuming the bommel is cotton. And so yeah, you can see in there it says Drops. This is very old stash. It is colourway 18, and it's May, yeah, anyway, and it's in this silver. Now I had thought quite a few times about doing maybe something like a ranunculus in it. It is sport weight, but anyway, I went on the Drops website, and I know their patterns can be quite tricky to follow, but I have knitted some of their patterns before. And so basically I just went on, I think I've got something like 15 balls of this, so loads of it. They are 50 grams, I think. Anyway, but I know I've got a lot of it. And so this particular top, jumper, tee, is designed for, maybe, I can't remember if it's designed for this exact yarn, but certainly something very similar. And so yeah, that's what I'm going to do. It's been in my stash for ages. I kept saying I was going to do something Christmassy with it, which would make sense, but now I just want, actually it's cotton, as well, cotton viscose, something quite sort of summery would work quite well. So this is the pattern I'm going to do with this. Maybe a little bit later in the year, because as I say, it could be a summery top with it being this cotton and viscose blend. This is quite heavy, but that's because there's a lot in here. Yeah, this is deep stash, deep stash. I wonder actually if I can see, let me just have a look on Ravelry and see when I stashed this on Ravelry. Yes, I've got 15 skeins, which is 1800 yards, 1600 meters, and I stashed this in 2010. So the project, the actual sweater does have a name. I lied. It is called Alberta-Rose. It's quite unusual for it to have a name. And that is, it's actually designed to use saffron, which is a sport weight, which is 100% cotton. I knew there was a reason. So it is designed to use a sport weight cotton yarn, and I'm going to use a sport weight cotton / viscose yarn. But isn't viscose quite often a cotton? Anyway, so yes, and it is pretty, and I think it will be really lovely in this colour. So yeah, okay. Feeling quite excited to use this now as well. It's good. That's what it's about, isn't it? You want to feel excited about your projects. I was watching a podcast earlier. What's podcast name? It's a Sarah is the podcast name. I'm not quite sure why it's a Sarah. Anyway, she was she's Dutch, and so English is not her first language, and she was doing a podcast all about the blankets she's made, and I loved, she referred to things as being heart jumping, things that make your heart jump, I guess. So she was talking about being heart jumping, and that's how I feel about knitting that right now. I feel heart jumping about it, and that's how you should feel about your projects, isn't it? So, and actually all of these things that I've just been talking about, I feel heart jumping about all of these projects. I'm going to start using that more often. Right, okay, so what's next on this crazy Make 9? Next we have actually a dress, and this is because I have got a lot, 3 cones of this really pretty pink, not purple, slightly heathery pink. It may have a little bit of a purple tinge to it. This beautiful yarn, it's an Aran weight yarn. It's by JC Rennie, I believe, and it's colourway Confetti. So hopefully I'll try and put a picture up of the colour of the yarn, because it's in the garage at the moment, stashed away. But I've got like 3 cones of it. I've got loads of it, enough, fingers crossed, to make a dress. And I found this Aran weight dress. And originally I thought it was a free pattern, which I was very excited about. But when I followed the link, there is no link to the free pattern. However, the pattern is available in a book. I don't know if the actual dress has got a name. Right, okay, so it does have a name. The name is in French. We all know, or if you are an old viewer of this podcast, you may remember once I had a whole load of Opal that I'd bought with various German colourway names, and I butchered them. My pronunciation of non-English words is not the best. I did do French GCSE, didn't get a great grade in it. Anyway, so the French for this is Robe à Plastron collage. There we go. And as I say, I thought it was a free pattern, but when I followed the link, it is in a pattern booklet where you get something like, I don't know, something like 50 patterns or something ridiculous for £5. So I've not bought it yet. So it's Bergere de France. And yeah, 83 patterns in this booklet, and it costs like £5 to buy this booklet. So I will buy the booklet, or the book. That's going to be a book if it's got 83 patterns in it, isn't it? Because even if I only knit this particular dress, £5, bargain for one pattern anyway. And I think it will be a paper copy. So I need to get that ordered at some point. And yeah, dress. I suppose I ought to double check that I've got enough yarn as well. But anyway, so that is the plan for the confetti yarn that I've got, which is so pretty. Okay, number 7 in my queue isn't actually a sweater as such, although I think it comes under sweater in the Ravelry sections. But it is more like of a wrap with sleeves, and it is the Wrapped Up in Cables by Knitatude. I love Knitatude designs, just gorgeous. And I've already got this pattern in my library. I bought this pattern previously when she was having one of her sales. She does have good sales quite regularly on her patterns. Worth following her on Instagram just for her reels anyway. Her reels and her aesthetic are just beautiful. But she does do discounts on her patterns fairly regularly, and I picked this pattern up when she'd got a discount. Don't know yet actually what I'm going to knit this one in. I think again it's an Aran weight. Let's go back to my queue. It takes a worsted weight yarn, so I don't know exactly what I'm going to knit that in, but I'm sure I will have something. Let me just double check that I haven't made a note in here of what I was going to knit it in. No. No, don't know what I'm knitting this in yet, but I will probably find either. Oh, I know what I was thinking. Was it? I was thinking of using probably something that's Aran weight anyway, because I don't think it's going to matter too much about gauge particularly, because it's quite, yeah. So I'll be doing the middle size anyway. So don't know what I don't know what yarn I'm using for that one yet. Maybe if I leave that till later in the year and I haven't got any yarn that I actually want for it, when I go to Yarndale, I can look for yarn for it. Okay, so that's Wrapped Up in Cables. Then we have the Everyday Tea, and that is by Julianne Moore. Julianne Moore? I'm pretty sure it's not Julianne Moore. Isn't Julianne Moore an actress? Oh, I'm so organised, aren't I? Let's go back to my queue. The Everyday Tea. I have this pattern. I've bought this pattern. It is Julianne somebody. Twin Stitches design. I'm telling you, she's called Julianne something. Just Julianne Knitter. Anyway, again, I already have this pattern, and I think I have, what's it say to use? Fingering weight. I think I have some 4-ply cotton in my stash in a really pretty sort of bluebelly blue. Funny that, bluebelly blue. Which I'm pretty sure that is 4-ply. And so in which case, that's my plan, is to knit this as a summer weight tee in cotton. So again, that will be later in the year because that's going to be in the summer. See, some of these things, I should be able to get that done in a month. I should be able to get the Wrapped Up in Cables, I would have thought, in a month's worth of knitting. Okay, the dress may take more than a month, but, you know, we're all good. We're okay. Then we have the Waffle Tee by, the design is by John Arbon. I don't know actually if I've got this in my queue. I've got a paper copy of this pattern. Okay, can't find it in Ravelry. I have got a paper copy of it somewhere. It is a tee, which has like waffle stitch across kind of like the top and the top of the sleeves. I bought the pattern at Yarndale on the John Arbon stall, and I bought John Arbon, is it DK weight? It's the Knit by Numbers, and it is in a purple shade. sorry, I'm kind of like, I haven't got very many details about this one, and I'm annoyed that I haven't even got a picture. I will find a picture, I will put it on. Anyway, so yes, waffle tea, or there's part of me thinking it's more like waffle, but I can't remember. Oh, this is terrible, Amanda. So that's number 8. Have got the yarn for it already, have got the pattern printed out. Going to get that one done. Yeah, I'm going to get them all done, remember. So the last one is the Stumble dress. Now, if I'm really honest, this is probably the one that is least likely to get knitted. I have got all the yarn for it. I've got this lovely fade of at least 5 skeins. It may be that I'm going to need more than 5 skeins. I don't know. So I would like to get this knitted this year. The Stumble dress is by Lydia Morrow, and originally she had designed a top and she designed a skirt, and then quite a few people, I say quite a few people had put those 2 designs together as a dress. So she then decided to actually make a pattern, produce a pattern with the that combines it. That pattern is quite expensive. It's £15. It's probably one of the more expensive patterns, but I do really like it, and I've got some yarn for it, and I just think it would be quite wicked. But it is in fingering / 4-ply weight yarn, so I'm going to sock yarn. It's going to take quite a lot of knitting, so I do want to do it, but you can tell, can't you, in my voice, there is part of me that's a little bit skeptical about doing that one. But it's there, it's on my list. So there we go. There are the 7 sweaters, 2 dresses on my Make 9 for this year. Look, do you know what? If I get 6 of these 9 done, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? I think that would be pretty impressive. These are 9 that I would like to make. That's all a Make 9 knit list is. Nobody's going to actually hold me at gunpoint and say, why haven't you knitted these? I know that. It is kind of, you know, your dream knitting. I've got so many things that I want to make this year. It was really difficult, because even now I'm like, but what about that yarn? What about that yarn? And look, so much yarn, not enough time. Don't forget, of course, as well, there'll be a minimum of 12 pairs of socks. Well, 13 minimum, because I've already done 2 pairs in January. So yes. But I would like to get more garments done this year, definitely. Right, let me know what's on your Make 9. Let me know what you think of my plans. There is a lot of purple. I know there's a lot of purple. It's not all purple. Not all purple, but there is a lot of purple. Yeah, so let me know what you think. Let me know what have you got a Make 9? Would you do a Make 9? Remember, it is not about committing anything to stone, into stone. It's not like, you know, you have to do this, but I do think sometimes it is quite nice to write down anyway, or to actually sort of say, hey, this is what I would like to make this year. Yeah, we'll see how the progress goes on that. All right, thank you so much for watching. There were a few other things I was going to tell you about, but you know what, I'm going to leave them this time. I feel like I've told you enough stuff, and you'll just have to wait for 2 weeks for me to tell you about the other stuff. So yes, I've got a couple of other things to talk about, but yeah, you're just going to have to wait and see now for that. Thank you for watching. If you like what you watch, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, please give it a thumbs up anyway, because it would be mean not to. And happy knitting. See you all in a couple of weeks. Bye.